welcome to a special edition of the OBX Wave Report, where we're going to talk about scientists and what scientists are saying. And I've got to tell you, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I really love science. Science is amazing. It's enlightening. It's an exploration. It's a challenge. It's I guess essentially for me, the way I kind of think of science is where ideas come to compete to determine how accurate they are as facts. And it's also a place where we open our eye to discover and learn, and where if we embrace the spirit of science, we take ourselves, our identity, our selfish nature, and we set it aside and let the truth instead reside in us as we observe it. It's I don't know. There's something about science that's existential, in the kind of existentialism term. I feel that way in a kind of like a Thoreau kind of way. But science is also powerful, and if we use it well and with conscience, morality, and ethics, we can improve ourselves, our world, the way we relate to things. We can improve our quality of life. We can extend our prospects, our potential lifespans, as far as, making ourselves more resilient to the impacts of, say, for example, or well, avoiding the impacts of bad nutrition, or even, um, I don't know, in the modern day, we've learned how to overcome many illnesses. So this has brought so many benefits to the individual. It's ironic in the sense that if we dispel our selfish nature to take in the truth and allow growth, then we benefit more. It's kind of one of the ironies of science, and embracing the scientific process and the process of enlightenment. And so, in that spirit, what I think I would like to do for this episode, and hopefully this will be a more continuous kind of feature for, like a special edition kind of feature for the OBX Wave Report. In the past, when I've covered climate science, I've tended to focus in on the extreme events to try and help send a signal out into the world that the climate crisis is happening and we need to respond to it. And I know that there are many scientists who are doing that as well, but I just kind of wanted to be a part of that effort. Um, but I think in these periods where there's nothing crazy or really extreme going on immediately in the region of the world that I'm looking at right now, which is the lower 48, the North Atlantic mainly, maybe some at the Arctic. We'll talk about what the scientists are saying. What are they looking at, and what are they talking about? Let's just talk about it. And we've got this social media thing out there. Social media's been problematic in the sense that it has amplified harmful messages. So why don't we do our part to amplify helpful messages by seeing what the scientists are talking about on social media? And I'm going to go ahead and start out with one of the scientists that I follow a lot. I read a lot of his work. I read a lot of the science that he puts out and the articles that he puts out, and that would be Dr. Michael Mann. This guy is really amazing to me. He has done so much both for science and for our world. I encourage you to follow Dr. Michael Mann on all the social medias and listen to what he's saying. And if you are a journalist or in the media, please contact Michael Mann for interviews as we confront the climate crisis, because he has just communicated in such an enlightening and thoughtful and helpful manner. And uh, his method of communication, if we listen to it, and if we take in the science that is underlying it, I believe will save lives, many lives, and make all of our lives better. So please look at Dr. Michael Mann and follow him, on all the social medias, and let's amplify the good messages and not the hateful and harmful ones. But in any case, what is Michael Mann talking about today? And we're going to talk about a lot of different climate scientists right now. But I mean, for right now, for this portion, we're going to talk about Michael Mann's present research drive, which is looking at ocean temperature. And recently, as we have gone into the El Nino state, the world ocean system has taken in a lot of that excess heat that is being trapped by greenhouse gases in the atmosphere and transported them into the ocean system. And so what we have seen is, according to Dr. Michael Mann's research and others, that the ocean's temperatures have broken records for highest temperatures for 4 years in a row. This coming in from Smithsonian Mag, and Dr. Michael Mann has a study that's cited in this article. I encourage you to read it. Dr. Michael Mann has been talking a lot about this recently over on his social medias. And I'm just going to point out to you the longer term 0 to 2,000 meter global ocean heat content, this information provided by NOAA. And as you can see, during recent years, since the 1990s, the global ocean system has taken in a lot of heat, and ocean heat content does have a big impact on the climate. The energy stored in ocean heat is far greater than the energy stored in atmospheric heat overall, as like a proportion of the climate system. And so the ocean is really a big deal when it comes to climate. It's the main heat sink thing. It's like where most of the heat goes. And atmosphere is certainly one measure, is very important as well. But if you're not looking at the oceans, you're not looking at a big part of the picture. And Dr. Mann is pointing that out to us right now. So I encourage you to listen and read this wonderful article in the Smithsonian by Margaret Osborne, Oceans Break Record for Highest Temperatures 4 years in a row. And please hear what Dr. Mann is saying over on the social media. Now, I'm going to move on to another climate scientist that I really love, that I follow. One of the reasons why I really enjoy Professor Catherine Hayhoe's climate communication is that she is so positive and she is so solutions oriented, and by far one of the best explainers on the issue of climate crisis um, out there. So please check her out. Her communications are amazing. They are spot on. You can learn so much from her. And she, over the recent day or recent hours, has been tweeting a lot and communicating a lot on social media about clean energy solutions. And this is one of the things that a lot of the scientists do. They talk about clean energy and they promote clean energy, and they talk about the viability of clean energy sources. Climate science is the main lens through which I have come to understand how important clean energy is. And what Professor Catherine Hayhoe is promoting today is a lot of communication on the issue of clean energy. I'm going to focus in on this one article and I guess retweet that she's tweeting from Mark Jacobson, who is also an expert on clean energy, about a potential new breakthrough in clean energy. And one of the things that clean energy wants to do as it emerges as a powerful force for global energy systems is to improve the ability of batteries to store energy at volume and at lower cost. And so there's this constant competition going on between the economies of scale right now with lithium ion batteries, which have progressed in an amazing fashion. The lithium ion batteries are just so much more capable than they were even a few years ago. But there are all these other battery technologies out there, and if one is able to break that curve of scaling and improvement that the lithium ion batteries have achieved, then we have an advancement. And Mark Jacobson is talking about this recent article in Auto Revolution about iron air batteries and about the potential to reduce their cost per kilowatt hour by 80 to 90%. So that's a big deal if that happens. If we get batteries that cost $20 per kilowatt hour rather than $100 to $200 per kilowatt hour, that has an impact on the cost of electric vehicles because the battery is one of the main components. And if the iron air batteries also store a comparable amount of energy, and it looks like these batteries right now are focusing in on static storage, and energy storage is a big thing as well. If you can get energy storage costs down, it also helps you to store the energy produced by wind and solar, which is an intermittent energy source. So I don't know all about the iron air batteries. I don't even know that if the iron air batteries are viable necessarily for electric vehicles. I don't know if this is a larger kind of battery that doesn't really fit into an EV kind of thing. I would be interested to hear what an expert might want to say about it. But it is fascinating, and it certainly is something that Professor Catherine Hayhoe is tweeting about, and as she continues to she continues to promote the clean energy revolution as a direct response to climate change. And so here is the article in Auto Evolution. And iron air batteries, 10 times cheaper than lithium ion batteries, will start mass production in 2024. Sounds exciting. I'll be interested to see how things develop with regards to iron, iron air batteries. It's kind of a hard thing to say, iron air. Okay, so moving on from Catherine Hayhoe, I would like to go on to another climate scientist that I follow, Peter Gleek. And Peter Gleek has been talking a lot about the storms impacting California and providing us with a lot of nuance and understanding and context, both with regards to the storms and with regards to how heavy rains coming in shorter periods potentially could impact California from a hydrological standpoint. And the information that he's provided has provided like a lot of nuance. We've experienced weather whiplash in California where there has been extreme drought conditions, likely fueled by higher than normal temperatures, and then we've had an extreme rainfall event that probably has a climate fingerprint on it in a kind of loaded dice kind of way, meaning that the potential for extreme rainfall events are higher in a warmer Earth system environment. And Peter Gleek is talking about how California water management can change practices to store more of the water in extreme events. He's also countering some misinformation in the form of some communication coming in saying that when so much water comes in all at once, they don't get any of the water, and that's not true. They do get, a portion of the water. just can be more challenging to capture that water when it just dumps all at once. And Peter Gleek has yeah, talking about the longer term drought picture for California, because whenever we get the big rains, it's interesting the way the communications work, because right now, California has been experiencing, well, now over the past few years, California has been experiencing extreme drought. And then whenever there's a lot of rains, some of the reporting entities will want to say, "Oh, the drought's over," and try and find, I guess, a silver lining in the extreme weather events. But in all honesty, again, it's pretty much more nuanced than that. You can still have a drought and heavy rains, and even though heavy rains might take a chunk out of the drought, you might still have a longer term kind of drought condition. I myself personally, even at my lower level of visibility, have gotten a lot of comments when I reported on the issue of the extreme rainfall in California. A lot of folks asking me, well, has Lake Mead refilled? And Lake Mead is not where the rains have happened. It's very, very simple. You can look at the map and see where the rains have happened and where Lake Mead is. But you get this kind of, back and forth, kind of not really seeing the nuance of things. And it's one of the reasons why it's important, really important to listen to what the scientists are saying, because they're going to focus in on you know, a very nuanced picture of the data that gives you a more granular understanding. So rather than just reacting to big news in a kind of way that doesn't see, like, say, for example, where Lake Mead is relative to where the rains are happening, maybe instead just listen and see what you can, absorb from the science. Um, I'm going through Peter Gleek's feed here. He's also talking about a new report finding that parts of Greenland are now hotter than at any time in the last 1,000 years. That's not surprising to me, but definitely an article that I'm going to want to read from the Washington Post. Washington Post has had fantastic climate coverage recently, and talking about the recent arrest of Greta Thunberg, which was immoral and wrong and should not have happened. He's saying we're not going to turn the corner on climate until we stop arresting the wrong people. Pretty blunt and something I agree with. And then again, talking more about California and the challenges that California face with an increasingly extreme hydrological situation, in the sense of drought fueled by warmer than normal temperatures, and extreme rainfall fueled by warmer than normal temperatures. All right, now let's go to Terry Hughes. Now, Terry Hughes is an expert on the Great Barrier Reef. Great Barrier Reef, not reef like Christmas, but reef like in the thing offshore. And the Great Barrier Reef is one of the wonders of our world. It is, a massive living structure that hosts a wondrous variety of life, and its health is directly tied to uh, the stability of our climate. And recently, the Great Barrier Reef has experienced a number of insults due to extreme water temperature in the form of bleaching events. And Terry Hughes is probably the world's top expert on the Great Barrier Reef, and an advocate for, again, a rapid transition to clean energy and a cessation of carbon emissions to save the reef. And um, the reef is experiencing insults now from climate. Reefs are one of the canaries in the climate coal mine, as you were, and we don't want to lose our reefs. Reefs are wondrous, beautiful, amazing life supports, and they generate so much richness and prosperity for all of us. We don't want to just say, oh, well, we don't care about reefs. That's just a hard, harsh, and wrong, morally wrong and vastly like self-inflicted wound kind of thing. Your world without reefs is a lot worse off. So please follow and listen to Terry Hughes. Right now, he's out there promoting electric vehicles, and it's interesting to me. I hear all this controversy about electric vehicles in the media, and oh, are they good? Oh, do they actually reduce carbon emissions and all this stuff? And if you listen to the scientists, they're all like 100% out there. Well, I don't know, maybe there might be some that aren't, but the scientists that are really on the front lines of climate change that I see are out there promoting electric vehicles, clean energy full bore, because they understand that the climate crisis is directly linked to the amount of carbon that gets injected into the atmosphere, and electric vehicles do substantially reduce climate crisis by reducing carbon emissions. And if you plug an electric vehicle into wind or solar or any other zero carbon energy source, then that vehicle does not have any emissions in use. And if you're using electric vehicles to do things like mine stuff, then there's no carbon emissions in mining anymore. And if you're using electric vehicles to mine the materials that end up in the electric vehicles, then you end up with like a 100% like zero carbon chain. So yeah, electric vehicles are great, major source of response to climate change, and the scientists are out there promoting it. In this case, Terry Hughes is promoting a tweet by Daniel Blakely talking about an Australian company's announcement of a $1 billion deal to supply 8,500 electric vehicles to the mining industry. So Terry Hughes out there fighting against carbon emissions and really working hard to save the reefs that provide so much richness and prosperity and beauty for us all. All right. Now I want to go on to Gavin Schmidt, who is the present head over there at NASA GISS and fantastic science communicator, very nuanced, very, very sharp and on point, and plucky. He's a very apt and astute climate communicator, and I encourage you to follow Gavin Schmidt. His method of communication is going to enrich your experience and challenge you, and that's a good thing. So for today, Gavin Schmidt is yeah, he talks a lot about baselines and trends and where the climate is going, and is an expert communicator on showing us how the climate has changed. And one of the things that he's highlighting right now is a general graphic of temperature change for regions of the world over the course of the last 142 years. And as you watch this thing move up to the present, you can see the really dramatic changes as we move from the lighter colors, the blues and the greens and the yellows, representing cooler temperatures for various regions of the world. And you can see all the various locations that we're getting temperature data from globally here. And then as we advance on into nearer present timeframes, you can see how the system is heating up in this beautiful graphic out here posted by NT Lipponen. Hopefully I'm not mingling your name, Mr. NT. Please forgive me if I am. Yeah, so these graphics, they give us yet another indicator of how our world is changing due to fossil fuel burning. Please follow Gavin Schmidt. Read all of his communications if you get the chance, and it will make you a smarter person. All right, so last of all, we're going to finish up with Zach Labbe. Zach Labbe is out there communicating specifically on Arctic conditions, and every day he's just so diligent and dedicated to telling the truth about the Arctic and how our polar regions are being affected by climate change. And this recent graphic posted by him is quite stunning. It's showing the Arctic Circle temperature anomalies above normal for the month of December for the period of October through December of 2022 and the period of January and December of 22. And we can see that we have again experienced very extreme warm conditions in the Arctic for most regions in December with some exceptions, but mostly above normal conditions for areas above the Arctic Circle in the range of 2.3 degrees Celsius for the entire region. And then for the October to December period, very warm conditions also. And then for the January to December period, also much warmer than normal, although not quite as intense as the December or October through December periods. I encourage you to follow Zach Labbe, listen to what he has to say about the Arctic. He is big time major expert on the Arctic. Okay, so that's our assessment of what the climate scientists and the climate experts are saying today. I did want to provide a platform for their communications and to help to promote them. They have provided me with so much enrichment, and I encourage you to allow them to help you understand your world better as well. So thank you for joining me for this special edition of the OBX Wave Report, and we'll be back with some observations from the coastline of surf conditions pretty shortly. Take care, and please remember to do everything you can to help transition our world to clean energy and to help protect and defend the coastlines from climate change driven by fossil fuel burning, the coastlines that we also love and enjoy and gain so much from as well. So thank you for